everybody. Welcome to the Local Pundit. I'm Josh Anthony. This is your Wrexham Daily News and Update show for September 2nd. Yes, we are in September. Holy crap. It is September. And as you can see on the thumbnail, it says that's football because we have a very special guest on the show today. I'm excited. We've never met, just had a brief 2-minute conversation. But, after the weekend with the match, I wanted to bring him on. It's Ashley from UP THE POSHCAST, and we're going to have a brief chat. And everyone in the chat, you're going to be nice. And that's it. I don't care what you'll be booted if you're not. What's going on? How are you, Ashley? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good. Thanks. You too, Josh. I'm excited to be on and chat football.
Yeah, let's chat a little bit about football. We have a tradition here on the Local Pundit, though. You come on the show, we need an origin story. So, Ashley, by the way, congrats on UP THE POSHCAST, what you guys do. It's not easy to put out content for a show you love and, a team you love. So, congrats on that. So, but we always start with an origin story. So, we got to pass it to you.
My origin of supporting Posh? Or
you
anything
personally?
Else?
You?
Me? Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I have lived in Peterborough all my life. Peterborough is where I was born. It was where I have lived. I've worked here. Harry's come in. It's podcast. He said, not podcast.
Did I screw it up? Up the podcast. Did I screw this up?
Yeah.
Harry, to be fair, he didn't even know my name.
That is true. Yeah, Harry, I didn't know Josh's name. I was just going to call him local all night, but it is what it is. Yeah, I've not got very much exciting things that have ever happened in my life. Obviously, I've got a 4-year-old daughter, which people thought I was using her to deflect the attention away from myself and remove some of the heat, let's say. But that wasn't the case. That was just the case of sharing my memories of what turned out to be a very disappointing, but still a memorable day, and not one that I'll definitely forget, especially with the week that came before it. But all in all, yeah, Peterborough born and bred, lived here all my life. Not actually supported Posh for longer than probably 20 years or so. Did have a little stint as a Nottingham Forest fan, which if everybody in the comments wants to learn a little bit about me, if they head over to our YouTube, there is a Getting to Know Ashley where I do make a slight confession about supporting a different team before Posh.
Well, trust me, I've been supporting Manchester United shamelessly for the last 20 years myself. And as you probably know, we talked just for briefly. I found Wrexham about 4 years ago. I've been, Rob McElhenney is my idol. I work in the film industry. So to be fair, I'll give you all of that too. It's like, so by the way, everyone always says it's like, oh, it's a Netflix thing, but it's definitely it's a Disney thing. So I don't know if that came from you, but it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah. I maybe made the wrong statement, but it's not a bash about the rec. Like I've watched the Sunderland one, they did Man City, Spurs, Arsenal have had one on Amazon and things like that. Like that wasn't a bash about this is the only reason that you're good type thing. It was more just that's where the support has come from ultimately.
For sure. Ultimately, yeah. You said you followed Peterborough for only 20 years now. But your side is great. I got to say, I was really impressed with a lot of the signings you guys have with Poku, particularly. Actually, I like Fernandez, 37 at the back. Got him in non-league. I thought he was impressive. Yeah. You have a really good side, and I wanted to bring that up, but also talk about the league in general. League One, there's no joke here. Like this is a battle, and no one's going to run away with this. Am I correct?
I don't know. I think Birmingham should run away with it this year, and if they don't run away with it, then it's a failure on their behalf. When you look at how much they've spent, but don't get me wrong, there are many a big team that have dropped down from the Premier League into the Championship, into League One, that have struggled to get out, and it is a difficult league. Like I think that's probably the one thing that makes the Football League and the Premier League so fantastic is that you get these massive teams dropping all the way down. And they struggle to get out of League One against teams like Posh, teams like Oxford have obviously got promoted. They don't even have a fourth side of their stadium. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. I am. And there's so much that makes it interesting that ultimately it kind of is like anybody can beat anybody on any given day. And already I know that the fearless guys are sort of saying, well, we've got these big results so far, and then obviously you've got a big derby against Shrewsbury at the weekend, and it's like you can probably almost guarantee that you'll lose that 1-0, and it will be like that'll hurt more than the wins. Like the gap between the two would be so much higher.
Well, I always say the two, like, never get too high, never get too low. And talking about that too, going back to the Jay Stansfield spending 15 M's, you're right. That's a total letdown. You think that they'll be able to gel together, a new manager there, and that you think they're going to be able to gel to put it all together? Because there's a two-parter there. I think that our manager, Parkinson, who I've been critical in the past, knows the league very well. But do you think like throwing money at everything is going to be the end-all be-all to make them, kind of run away with it?
We've never seen money like this. That's the difference. Yeah. And normally when these big teams come down, it's because they're in financial difficulty, or they're having to be one of these like Phoenix clubs where they're coming back up from the start. They've had multiple points deductions. We've never seen, like, Birmingham were obviously unlucky, and if you say in a sense, to get relegated last season. They deserved to get relegated. They got rid of John Eustace and replaced him with Rooney, and that was just sheer stupidity. And then they were sort of just chasing their tail. Like, I don't get me wrong, I don't think that Wayne Rooney will be a bad football manager in the long run, but they had such a good like base with John Eustace that they sort of threw it away. And they probably did deserve to get relegated for that, but they've obviously just had they've got American owners there as well. And I can't see how they don't romp away with it. I know that I've predicted us to win the league, but I think that it's very clear now that that's just not going to happen. That, like you say, the difficult thing with them is that they've got 3 strikers who, that Harry's just said, Jay Stansfield for 10 million. The previous record in League One was 4 million.
Yeah.
So you're 2.5 times.
Sorry,
there's so many good questions coming in. Like,
I know I was going to get to him in a second. I was letting you sort out, and I was going to get to him. But which one you want to pick one out? Let's go. Like I said, we just met, so
should we go with Andy at 10:09 asking if I think that Wrexham were lucky?
Okay.
Ooh, right. Am I going to give him credit? Wrexham played their game. That's not saying that Wrexham were poor, but Posh were very poor on Saturday. Like, that was probably our worst performance of the season. Like, we looked lost. We didn't know what we were going to do. I don't know if you saw during the game, we ended up playing 3 at the back, and we had like 7 strikers on basically and attackers, but they didn't know where they were meant to be playing. That was because of Parkinson's tactics. Elliot Lee and Dobson in the middle, they are dogs. They will literally just run around, and they blocked off everything. Like, Poku was quiet for the game, Otto quiet for the game. In my opinion, obviously, lots of it is opinion based, but two goals, that's all you need, isn't it? Like that I don't want to give too much credit, because I don't think the Wrexham were fantastic, but 2 goals and they won the game, didn't they? So that's what it's a points based game, and they've walked away with the 3 points.
That's what I think. Like, I think Parkinson, again, I was just bringing this up too. I think Parkinson just kind of knows the league a little bit too. So maybe that's like, it's not going to be sexy football, but you go out there, like put a plan together, as you guys did. I will tell you, Poku, Odu, Archie Collins, Ricky Jade. I'm surprised does Ricky not start? Ricky Jade Jones not start?
So that was one of my. We recorded on Saturday night, and we recorded the week after we won at Exeter, and I said that he simply has to start when we play at home. Because I don't know if you've seen the clips, you may not have come across them, because they may have just sort of, what we said may have like shadowed what was coming up on posh hashtags and stuff like that. He can run 100 meters in like under 11 seconds, and like balls over the top. Like, defenders, especially defenders the size that Wrexham have got, they don't like turning and they don't like running. And I think that we missed that because Mothersill, unfortunately, wasn't fantastic in the press that we like to have. So I think that we'd probably set ourselves up to fail from the start. And it's all well and good having the ball, but if you can't make the space for yourself because it was so compact, like him saying, Wrexham were poor for 20, and that's what I said. Like I said, we dominated the game for the first 30 minutes. Lots of people came back to me and said, "Well, no, you didn't. You didn't do anything with it." It's like, we did. We had the ball. We did what we wanted to do. We just missed a chance. And I do honestly believe that the Mothersill chance that just went past the post, if it goes in, it's a completely different game. Of course, because we've scored a goal, and then you guys have then got to come out and attack, and that's the difference. That's kind of what we're reliant on at the moment. Is either we seem to be doing better away from home because teams are having to come out and attack us because their fans don't want to watch them sit back for 90 minutes and just hope that they're going to draw against us, Whereas when teams come away, they're happy to sort of soak up the pressure for 30 minutes, same as what it was a carbon copy of what happened for Huddersfield, which is a frustration because it felt like we didn't learn.
Yeah. Paddy Power says, how have your supporters' numbers been over the past seasons? Are you losing fans the longer you are in League One? Paddy Power. So we're jumping around here a little bit too.
No, it's fine. We can go up and down and up and down. Believe it or not, our fan base is growing. And we obviously got relegated from the Championship. That would be 3 seasons ago now. So this is now the 3rd season in League One consecutively. The marketing team, as much as I like to wind them up, which is maybe a common theme between me and winding people up, they're doing a fantastic job at growing the fan base, and we are growing slowly and steadily. And like days like Saturday don't help, but hopefully they can sort of get beyond it and then get them back in. Like it's easy when it's the summer holidays because people are looking for that last thing to do. It was the last weekend before all the kids go back to school. Either today, yesterday, today, tomorrow, Wednesday type thing. Like that should have always been a big game, even if it wasn't Wrexham, because it's like the last big event before the school starts again, and then it will be a bit of a slog through the winter, but then you sort of get to March time, and hopefully that Posh normally tend to do well February onwards. And I'm not concerned by us only having 6 points after 2 games because I would rather us be poor now and then just slowly build and be ready for that big crescendo at the end, rather than start really strong and then fade off come November time and have a really rotten run of results. Overall, our fan base is growing, and the club are doing a good job to gain the attention of the 12, 13-year-olds that are just on their way to potentially looking at Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, all of those lot, and actually trying to get them as fan bases for or fans of Posh.
Mary says, "Hey, Josh and Co, nice to have opposing position fans." Yes, I'm happy to have them on too, and because I think it's important that we all get together, talk football. That's football. Things happen. You might come here on January 4th and rinse us. You never know. So I think it's important that we do that and have a great conversation. Ken says our press rattled Peterborough. Oh, sorry, I think it was a little bit of delay. Apologies, everyone here.
No, that's fine. I disagree with Ken. I don't think that we were rattled at all. We played our game, and it was the final hurdle. It was like we were right on the edge of the waterfall. We just couldn't quite push ourselves over it and get that goal. If we'd have got a goal inside the first 10-15 minutes, then I don't just want to look like being salty, but I do believe that we would have got like 3-4 goals because Wrexham would have had to have come out, which I don't think is something that they've experienced. I would say for Wrexham, I think that beating Posh was more of a result than Bolton, because Bolton are very strong this year at the moment. They may grow into it as well. Yeah,
as I say, they look like they have a solid team, but they lost in the weekend. Correct. If you look at the table, it doesn't. The table obviously is not an indicative where it's going to be at the end. But Bolton, I was like, oh, they're a good side. I think I think Wrexham, for that matter, we gave them too much respect. I'm not saying we didn't give Posh too much respect. I think we came out, pressed from the top up front. I think you're right. You made a great point, though. O'Connell does get turned. O'Connell is a good space defender. Kind of reminds me a little bit of John Terry. He does get turned a lot. So I'm really surprised I didn't go Ricky Jade up front.
Yeah, that's a big frustration for me, because I think that we threw it away from the start. Is that if Kim's right, it would have helped it. That I've said that's embarrassing. That's not the way that Posh play football. That's not us, and to not even have a shot on target is and the first goal. People are the deflection was lucky. Like that's sort of been a similar story of our season. We've conceded lots of deflected goals.
I saw that.
How many deflected goals are we going to concede all season? Like it happened last season, and then I think it's not actually a very good shot from Marriott. I think that when you look at it from the camera angle is perfect. The keeper sweeps it up and picks it up, and then we're good.
Was that Whalen that went under? Whalen went under. Yeah, Whalen went under. I think Fernandez went to the ground. The 1-2. Yeah, for sure. But I saw
then it
that
just flips over Steer's head.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, okay, shoot on sight. I said that before the game because I watched a lot of your games. A lot of shots have been going in outside of the box. Is the keeper is there an issue with the keeper? Does he not see the ball well? Just out of curiosity. Oh, he's laughing at somebody. There you go.
No. I'm laughing at what you're saying. I am laughing at what you're saying because I've made some comments on our goalkeeper already this season. In that he is very good with his feet. We have two goalkeepers. One is very good with his feet and very good at the passing football that we like to play, passing out from the back. The other is then a very good shot stopper. But he can't play with his feet. And Jesse is not a fantastic shot stopper, if you ask me. Like, his arms aren't the longest. And it seems like every time that a shot goes on target, it's like it's just out of reach. The one on Saturday, though, was that would have been harsh to have blamed him on that because it's taken a deflection and gone over his head. T-Rex from Toy Story.
By the way, if Harry's in, does Harry want to come in? Harry, come on in. I'll drop him a link. Harry, you want to come in?
Yeah, so let me send him the link and then see if he wants to come in.
Come on in. Let's do it.
He's probably tucked up in bed.
Well, that's fine. We don't need his face. He can come on and have his say. I could take it. Or come on in. It'd be fun to have everyone on. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And while he's doing that, I'll cover this up a little bit here too. We'll talk about the 70% there too. By the way, just so you know, I wasn't going to go into the chat, but the chat is so lively. I had a whole list of things to ask Ashley just about, but we're just going off it, and that's the good thing about live shows, which is awesome. Barry said no. Oh, okay, 7 hours. He's like, okay, fair enough. You're in for next time. Mary says, Ashley, what top 3 teams will finish, you think, when it's all said and done? Ooh, dare.
I'm going to back Posh. I am going to back Posh to be there and thereabouts. It will be Birmingham, and then I'm going to go with Rotherham. They've had a shocking start, but Steve Evans is a League One master. Yeah. Steve Evans is a League One master. Like, he's done it with so many teams. They love him at Rotherham, and he's got a goal scorer, Clark Harris, who was obviously at Posh last season and then has won 2 Golden Boots in League One. They've got everything that you could need, experience through the rafters. It's just that the problem is with Steve Evans is that he signs 15 to 20 players, and it just takes a little bit of time for them to gel together. Same as what has happened with Posh, is that we've lost 4 or 5 of our starting 11, and they're just taking their time to get to know each other.
Which is probably what Birmingham will do, and they'll figure it out probably mid-season if they do.
Yeah, and that's sort of where, like, Wrexham are all good to start here. There will be a drop off. Like, there will be a drop off, and it's how long will that drop off last for, or will they manage to sort of like pick it up relatively quickly?
Interesting enough, like Parkinson talks about that. It's like, how do you recover? Because we're going to have last season. You probably don't follow Wrexham, obviously, but last season we lost Evans, and we lost our midfield Stash, O'Connor, and it was about recovering. So like, we had a really bad midseason. We didn't start off great. Obviously, we still have Paul Mullen. We had Paul Mullen come in a little late. He broke his ribs, but I look at these leagues. I'm so impressed by the Championship, League One. I watch the Premier League as well, but it's like I love watching this league because you can't quite put a target on it. It's so much fun. Harry asks, "Do I know the T-Rex story from Toy Story?" I've never seen Toy Story, but what is the context? Because I'm sure I'm getting set up for something, Harry.
No, not at all. The T-Rexes have short arms, don't they?
Short arms. Oh, short. Yeah.
They can't reach. So that's what that's the Jed Steer reference. And I'm sure that Jed Steer is a fantastic man to have in and around the dressing room. He's 31. I think that our next oldest sort of starter, or the one that's in the squad, is sort of like probably 22, 21. So there's a massive age difference. And that's probably where some of the naivety comes from in the team. But he's never been a number 1 before. He's probably, I think it's like he had 120 appearances before coming to Posh last season. So you're talking 10 to 15 games a season. But then there was one season where I think he played like 30 games. So then all of the rest of them, you're talking that he's only getting 8 to 10 games a season. So he's showing that, for me, he's showing why he's not been a number 1 consistently somewhere, and that he's a very good backup and somebody that you want to bring in because he's got that goalkeeper confidence. But if we could find a goalkeeper like Bila Kapic that can pass the ball and not give it away, I don't think that Steer would be our number 1.
because it's a live show, Kelly's also said show. Here we go. But I think I did say Up the Poshcast, by the way. I'm just going to point that out earlier. Kelly's Up the Podcast honestly said the Wrexham fans are getting bored. I'm sorry. Other than the fact that the club rejected the offer additional away tickets, do you have evidence to support it? Okay. There you go. She's in Wrexham, by the way. Again, but I told him, again, this is not a gotcha, whatever, but we're just having a conversation. But Kelly, Kelly wanted to bring.
My statement about the tickets was a factual statement that I had heard from one of my contacts at the club that I have through work. He told me that Wrexham had turned down the offer, and it's like, okay, well, we'd heard all these stories like, right? No, it was 800 tickets. Yeah, so really? Yeah, so I don't know whether you could see it, but from the camera you could see the Wrexham fans in the back right, then the stand behind the goal where the Posh fans were, that is normally split into half and half. So yeah, so there was a big banner that said "Proud to be Posh" that ran up the seats as like segregation. That would normally have been moved slightly further over to the middle of the goal, and then Wrexham would have been given that. Huddersfield took up the option. They had 800 tickets. That statement is also not right. The tickets were offered nearly 2 weeks before the game. The club, Wrexham, decided to turn them down. I don't know why. And that was probably the comment. It's like, well, why did they? We've heard all these stories like they're going to sell out every away, and there's such a demand for tickets. Every home game's selling out, isn't it? So
we do. We can't. Yeah.
I know that obviously lots of Wrexham fans like from Wales were saying, oh, it's a 3-hour journey and all of that. But actually, Peterborough, for the travelling fan that maybe wanted to get to an away game potentially, Peterborough's ideal. There's so many airports that you can get to Peterborough from like sort of within 2 hours, especially flying from America. Like it seemed like it was going to be a little bit of a no-brainer that it would be another sellout. And actually, if Wrexham wanted 4,000 tickets, they probably could have had them and probably sold them, but for some reason they got turned down. That was sort of where my comment came from.
Yeah.
And I think it then got taken slightly out of context.
Yeah. Oh, like everything else online, for sure. You say something for sure. I'll tell you this. Yeah. I live in Los Angeles, obviously. I was out here for the Rex Coast tour. I can see it from the outside saying there's like a phenomenon happening. It kind of feels like plastic football. I get it. I totally get it. But there is like a little bit difference, and probably there's a connection that feels a little bit different than some of the clubs. Probably the same with you, with Posh and everything like that. But most of the people flying over probably will be getting away tickets rather than at the Stoke. So I'm really, whether it be 800 or 100, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm surprised if that was the case, that it didn't happen. We don't know why. There's a lot of communication.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. And what was the excuse for that? And then that wasn't a pre-prepared statement. That was something that we were discussing, and then it came up that everything that was said before it was missed off the clip, and then made its way to the main clip. There were then there were then some extra tickets offered, but that was then Posh having to move around the segregation that is normally there. Which, if you ask it was that late notice that there is a lovely little section of odd coloured seats that aren't blue or wooden, that were covered up when Wrexham fan turned up. They had to take the segregation off. It was that late notice, so that they could then stand there and access those seats.
Yeah. See, there you go. See, all makes sense. Everyone just rinse through it. Harry says exactly. The comment was from earlier. Steer did lead Villa to the championship playoff success, including the penalty shootout. But as Ash says in his physical presence, he always held them back. There you go. John says all good. Ash made a couple of posts giving you all the business. Yeah, always never go personal attacks, by the way. But it's all in good fun. Looking forward to seeing you on our next meeting, which will be January 4th. And Patty Barr says, what's your take on XG? Too many people are using and chasing stats incorrectly. 70% possession means very little to spend 50% of your time passing back and forth in your own end third. I don't think he's bringing that specifically up to you, but, take that on as you will.
So I quite like the XG model and the models that are available. I think it's a good sort of precursor for, okay, well, I think Posh's XG is 6.2 at the moment, and we've scored 6 in the league. So, okay, cool. So we're like 0.2 goals behind where we should have been. When you then look at teams like Rotherham, who have like 6 XG as well, and they'd only scored 1 goal, I would then be concerned by that, because we are missing opportunities, or that team is missing opportunities for chances to score goals ultimately. And our Posh's 6.2 includes a penalty, which I think is like a 0.9 on the the lads in our podcast group are just are just mentioning something and
have them come
some
in. If they're awake,
no, it's Harry again. Harry's tucked up in bed.
Harry's up. He doesn't. He's like I want to be in. Yeah. By the way, that was Charlie who mentioned XG. You didn't mention XG. I did watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I like stats, and it's all well and good saying yes, you can have all the possession in the world you want. Wrexham just didn't do what Posh wanted them to do when defending and not having the ball, and normally teams would then come and take you out, and that's where then I wanted Ricky J. Jones on the pitch, so that when they do step up and press over, you lump the ball forwards, and you get it up there quickly, and you get them all turning around and spinning around. I'm frustrated that we didn't challenge your goalkeeper either, because I've not seen much of him, but from the little sort of events that he had on the pitch, he didn't look as strong as I felt that he would have been. And if we'd have put some pressure on him, I think that he may have maybe like fumbled the ball a couple of times, and then that would have, Ricky's pace would have put extra pressure on that. And he was one that was happy to leave the ball. I think it's maybe something that they're all getting from academies, because he's obviously a young goalkeeper that you've taken from Arsenal, isn't it? I think it is.
He's have you watched him? He's a really talented goalkeeper. Really good. He's 6'5".
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah. I think his kicking's not. He'll be on. I have him coming on the show in a couple weeks. He's not a great kicker of the ball, but like he is a really good keeper. And I'm really impressed with him at 22 years old. On that note, I watched the latest podcast. I love that Dell said Wrexham. There you go. Okay. This one's good here too. Tom Fletcher coaching. Have Wrexham fans ever had this much back and forth at any other fan base? No, probably not. I've seen a lot of teams have banter with Ashley and other teams on Twitter, but I don't think it's ever been got this much traction. No, the reason why I know I want to give Ash just the floor as well. Reason why I wanted to, we tried to connect before the game, but I think it's just because it's a new league. We're coming in. Wrexham have a target on their back too. I did not like personally the personal attacks on Ash and specifically. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna shut this down. This is all about football. It's not, football's a game, but it's all about people, and we all have our own opinion, but never attack personally. I want to set the example. It's like people can have a conversation, and you know what? And that's fine. And if we go back and they come and rinse us at home on the 4th, I'll go on their show and they can take it out on me. So for sure. So that's why this is all happening, Tom. Thank you.
I think that I have this one as my background for a reason. This was Derby County away last season. They beat us 4-2 at home, probably pretty much on the same weekend this time last season. I used to have some fun with the Derby fans, like it'll probably be the Wrexham fans and the Birmingham fans this year. I don't know if you ever watched the highlights of this game, but if you watched Derby 3, Peterborough 2, when we finished here, we conceded after 19 seconds. It was New Year's Day. Yeah, it was New Year's Day, so it's all falling around like the same time, and it's like we went 1-0 down. Then after 8 minutes, it was 1-1. Then it was back to 2-1. Then in the 83rd minute, it was 2-2, and then in the 94th minute, Ricky J. Jones scored, and we won. And that was like it was New Year's Day, and it was the highlight of the year already type thing, because Posh don't go to big stadiums and win. We've not got the best track record at places like that. Good question. What are my realistic expectations? I'm just looking at this question. I think the expectation should always be top 6 for Posh. That's not being arrogant in the sense of like we're better than 18 other teams in the league, but we've done this enough times. Darren Ferguson is the man when it comes to League One, like Steve Evans is. Like the Huddersfield manager, I can't remember his name. There's lots of very, very, very good managers in League One at the moment. And
I think it's tough.
Yeah, it's getting harder every single season because more teams are dropping down into the dropping into the Championship with Premiership money, and then like it looks like Everton are probably going to get relegated this season. They'll then drop down and have an absolute pit of cash potentially to use in a new stadium. I think that Goofy Splat's making comment about the best team wins and that's it. I'm not sure that's always true. And
I agree with that. Best team doesn't always win. You never know. But one of our other guys. Sorry, Ken's going to come in. He's going to pop in. He's a nice guy. He won't beat us up. But he's, there you go. He obviously loves green in the background. He's one of the guys on the show. Awesome. Welcome in. There you go. How are you?
Hey, going. Yeah. Great comments. I'm really loving the chat. The chat's going nuts.
Yeah, it's going
pear shaped. Yeah.
I have that effect on people.
I don't. But no, I'm loving your comments, and I'm loving because obviously when you're watching as a fan, you love your team, and and you comment at the start, that question about what was your realistic expectations at the start of the season? Was it top 6 and it's still top 6?
And I thought we were going to win the league. I would always the aim should always be top 6 for Posh, but for me, I think we should be settling in and saying, right, we need to win the league. Like, we've not done it in my lifetime. We've always been the bride or the bridesmaid to the bride type thing and gone up in second or won the playoffs. Like, I want us to win the league. Like, there's nothing that I would really want more than that. And ultimately, I think that should be the expectation. Like, it's difficult with Posh because we lose our players to big clubs, to better clubs, and we then replace them with people that nobody's ever heard of. Whereas like you guys are replacing players with players that have got all of this experience. Like you look at McLean, Mullin, Jack Marriott. Like Jack Marriott's got goal scoring record, and it was sort of inevitable that he scored a goal.
I was
Stephen Fletcher, ridiculous amount of football experience and goal scoring experience, and then you've then got obviously Dobson was meant to be in Hungary, I think, and then he got a contract cancelled. Like that's a massive signing. I personally didn't rate Dobson at Charlton, and I saw a comment from a Charlton fan saying, like, what did we do to him? Because the Dobson that Wrexham have got is not the Dobson that Charlton had last season. Like, I wasn't concerned by Dobson being in the midfield. I know he was being hyped up by a lot of Wrexham fans pre-game, but it was a dominant display from him, and he was fantastic in the middle. And I'm not afraid to admit that.
Ash, I'll tell you, he come in. So that's basically our same lineup for the last 2 years, minus Mullin and plus him in the middle of the park. I was like, oh, who is this guy? I met him when he was over here. Nice dude. I watched him train. I watched him play in the preseason. I was like, oh, he's changing everything in the midfield. He's dogged. But I thought your midfield was at number 4. Who's number 4?
Archie Collins. Yeah. Archie Collins. Yeah.
I thought he would be able to boss the midfield a little bit more. Do you think that Dobbs? What happened there in the midfield?
I'm not gonna blame our midfield for Saturday. I think that it was what was happening ahead of them that was the problem, and that they were looking up, and the sort of like the 5 and the 3 at the back, like the rotation, and then with the 2 sat in front, there just wasn't the space for them to sort of find their way and receive the ball and get, like, a lot of our stuff is very much like get the ball, give it back. Get the ball, give it back, move it around in triangles and all of that sort of stuff. And Wrexham just didn't allow that space, which, like, I don't remember Poku doing anything on Saturday like he normally would, like the foot rolls and the beating the man and putting the ball across the box. Like, that was another thing that we sort of discussed when we recorded on Saturday. It was like, we're putting crosses into the box and we don't have anybody to win the header. Like, we should be firing these balls across the floor and they will nick their way in. Because as good as big defenders are, they're a little bit clumsy with their feet, aren't they? And like getting their feet sorted out and done like that. And that's sort of what's happening with Posh at the moment, is that we are like throwing our bodies in the way, and then we're taking deflected goals. Not even from crosses. It's like they are literally just shooting and it's just deflecting here, there and everywhere. So that was probably
So you just brought in Whalen in June, is that correct? Or has he been there?
I think that was a July one, actually. Yeah. So he was pretty late. He was really fresh, but he has played 12 games already in the Swedish league. So it wasn't like he's waiting to get up to match fitness. Obviously, there is more fitness to come, and League One is probably a lot more taxing on the body than the Swedish second division is. But that was something completely new to Posh, and like it was just we replace our players, but I struggle to get excited by the replacements because I don't know who they are half the time. Like we signed them from, like I've never watched Swedish second division before.
Really? I'm on it all day.
How can I get excited about a signing that I've never watched before? Ultimately, and that's the difficult thing is that actually you then watch them in preseason, you go, okay, like I like what I see. They've got lots to learn still, and it very much has been in the first 5 games. There's been lots of learning that's happened, and you can see them developing every game. It's just a shame that you sort of we play Huddersfield. They're going to be up there this season. We play Wrexham. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to commit Wrexham to saying, yeah, they're definitely going to be a top 6 team, but top 10 should be Wrexham's aim for this season, especially with the start that they've had. And then you start throwing teams like Stockport in as well, like even Crawley. Like we had Crawley down as they've like lost like 10 of their players that started the playoff final, and they lost them all. I was like, well, they're stuffed. Like they're going to be like record low points. But they're winning. They're winning games, and they're beating teams that you just don't expect them to play. And quite frankly, it's another place that realistically, I'm probably not looking forward to going, but it's another place to go, and because they play good football as well. And like that complete style clash when you've got 2 of exactly the same, like it becomes a chess game, doesn't it? Ultimately.
Go ahead, Ken. You got something?
I'll cover off a couple of quick things and get straight back to something about Peterborough. The reason we're so bullish on Dobson was because we saw how it improved our midfield, and you're talking then like for us from where we were, and it definitely strengthened up our midfield significantly. In terms of you guys, like your crosses and attack and that, what we noticed with our squad was our defence at the end of last year was excellent, and then in the preseason was even better. And I really did think on the weekend you guys would struggle to break down our defence because of how strong it has been. Even though I rate your attack like Poku and everything, I thought they were great. They're great players. Before the match, I was really nervous about it. But our defensive structure so far this season has been excellent. But coming back to Peterborough, one thing I noticed about the Peterborough ground is how enclosed it is on the pitch, the stadiums. And I thought, if you guys get sellout stadiums, that place would just absolutely rock. It would just sound awesome.
So this is a massive sticking point in the stadium because obviously the stand that the Wrexham fans were in is an old roof, and then the stand behind the goal, the older stand to the left of the camera position, the London Road end, is again an old roof. And there's this massive sort of like, we can't hear people, we can't hear you, because the sound goes up and then just gets lost up in the roof, rather than the new stand behind the goal is obviously like your traditional stand with your roof going up and out, and it helps to project it. So Posh has never really been like an atmosphere stadium for me. I'm just as guilty as the rest. I like to go and watch football. I don't sing, I don't chant, I don't do all of that stuff that goes with it. There's hundreds of people that do, but at Posh there's not enough, if you ask me. And like there was a little photo of a guy wearing a Man United top. Like, how?
Oh god, this one, give it in the base.
How embarrassing!
What? And there was a woman there with a child. Like, what are we doing?
And that was with McLean. Against McLean.
So I went on to some of the younger lads. They've got a little channel called Borough on My Mind. So please do check that out as well. They're like 18, 19. They give some fantastic insights to their stuff. And I went on theirs on Friday night when we were doing a deadline day thing. And I said, like, the last thing I said is like, just please don't wind McLean up. Like, he knows he's going to get it. And it's like an elixir to him. Like, he thrives off of it. And it's like, you wind him up, you know that something's going to happen. He's going to go and score, or he's going to assist. And then I'd assume that maybe some people in the family stand were giving him some grief, because obviously after Marriott scored, there's that clip of him turning and gesturing to them. And then obviously, there's then the one in the main stand which is where I sit, and it's like we don't help ourselves at all. Like,
don't poke the bear. Don't. By the way,
yeah,
how far is Posh? How far is Peterborough away from Manchester? I'm sorry. I mean, I've been
3 hours. 3 hours away. Yeah.
So what the F is that dude giving the business? We're a United fan. You know, that's like coming. I saw that.
This is part of the posh fan base issue, and why we're doing so well to actually grow it is that there's lots of London-based adults that live in Peterborough that then have supported the Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, all of that sort of stuff, all those sorts of teams. And then obviously their kids support those teams. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. They support their dad's team. Like, that's the way that it goes, isn't it? Type thing. Yeah. But then equally, there's just as many Man United and Liverpool fans. And it's like you can't ask for much more. Just support the team. But it was such an egg on the face moment when that picture goes out of a lad wearing a Man United top and he's giving it the big one, and it's like all these things that I've said about like fake fans. I'm not sure I actually did say anything about fake fans or plastic fans. Like,
the only thing you said that I took offense to is, I block the locations for the people in America? That's the only thing I was like, that's the only thing I was like, come on, man, give it to me.
And I'm getting in Australia. I'm not even in America.
Yeah,
but Ken's 25 years old.
Yeah. Not this time around the moon or the sun, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah,
Patty's asking you. Sorry, Ken. I'll give you this one next after this. Patty's asking. Crawley went up lower mid-table, but could get relegated if all new teams stay up. What 4 are getting relegated? Oh dear.
Can I look at the table?
Yeah,
okay. I'll bring it up. I can bring it up for you. I got it right here.
I'm going to tell you one team that are going to get relegated, and the Wrexham fans in the chat are going to love this, and it's going to be Shrewsbury, because they are right. Like, excuse the language, they are fucking terrible.
Well, we're not going to say that today because we're playing them this weekend, and we don't want to fuel the ammunition.
No, of course, but I will say it on your behalf. I said it before we played them a couple of weeks back and said, like, these are absolutely a team that we should be spanking. We did. We won 4-1. Fantastic. They're rubbish. They've beaten somebody at the weekend. I can't remember exactly who it is. But
They beat Leighton 3-0. The 2 bottom teams played each other.
They did do. There you go. Yeah, 3-0. There it is, right there.
So automatically Leighton Orient can go down there because they're losing to cannon fodder in Shrewsbury. And then I predicted Stevenage to have a tough season because they've obviously lost Steve Evans. And then between one of Cambridge or Northampton, I'd love them to go down because but only if Posh get promoted, because they're obviously Northampton and Cambridge are Posh's local games and local rivals. So I would love them.
Was that an objective thing or more of an emotional thing?
Oh no, Cambridge are actually shit. And Gary Monk is a terrible manager as well, and the table is already showing that.
I wish you'd say what you really feel.
By the way, so I look at this. We have to bring this up now. They have a defender on here for Rotherham, okay? Because it's not him. It's more of our other guy that comes on, who's a contributor. It's Aaron, who we always give him shit. Like all the players we wanted to sign, Rotherham signed. I don't know, Ken, but you said Rotherham.
We did a prediction show like earlier in the off season for who we could recruit, and everyone that Aaron was trying to get got signed by Rotherham. So now we just called him a faux Rotherham fan.
Yeah. So somebody said Mullin came from Cambridge. Yeah. He was never going to get a fantastic reception, irrelevant of whether he played for Wrexham or not. Because if he'd have played for Huddersfield or Shrewsbury or anybody in the league, like Mullin was never going to get a good reception because they bizarrely named a stand after him after like he had like one good season, which is just beyond weird.
Gifting him stands. There you go. Have it.
One good season doesn't make a legend. So that was very bizarre. But he was never going to get a good reception. Who would you want to sign on the Wrexham squad this season? Just curious.
Oh,
Paul Mullin, of course. Obviously.
To any players you go? I wish we had that guy.
This is such like a talk sport question for sure. And
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I'll say I'll give one of three. Marriott, because he's a goal scorer. Obviously, we have actually got rid of him. Obviously, 2 seasons ago, I think it was. You can't turn down a goal scorer. And then either one of Elliot Lee or James McLean, because I think that's what our team is missing at the moment is a shithouse. And either of those two will just wind opposition fan bases up. We had it in Harrison Burrows last season, in that he was obviously a young lad, a local lad. He was shushing fans when he was scoring and doing all of that sort of stuff.
Quick question.
And every team needs one of those. Like, we're too nice. And that's why Saturday happened ultimately.
Yeah, you need a shit house. You take JM over Marriott, and I'm not going to answer, but I'll bless you. You take him over Mullen, or you want your guy back?
I would never sign Paul Mullen, purely because of the Cambridge link. No chance.
Fair enough.
So we have Ryan Bennett. I'm not sure whether he's still at Cambridge, but he used to play for Posh, and he's gone to Cambridge. And it's like you just ruin any tie. Like I don't want anybody that's been to Cambridge. Like the best thing that probably happened to Posh is Jack Sparks, the left back. He was meant to be signing for Cambridge allegedly, and we basically rung up like 30 seconds before he put pen to paper and nicked him off of them. And it's like, kind of like that. Like that's a highlight because they've not got him. They wanted him, and now we've got him. So go fuck yourself, type thing. Like
Manchester United jersey in the crowd. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we've got the pulling power. Yeah, well, Kim's saying Mullin is a clinical goal scorer. He wasn't on Saturday, wasn't he? He's missed a sitter as well. Like I'm calling out.
Yeah, he's just coming back from major back surgery, so I'd say
you don't lose the ability to put the ball in the back of the net.
I would say come Christmas, have a look back at that.
He's got to get in the team first, though, and I see no reason why Ollie Palmer and Jack Marriott should be dropped.
No, Jack Marriott knows his time.
It will come. It will. But
come. I like
because Parky loves him. Parky loves him. That's why. And he's our top goal scorer. So
they're saying it was minor back surgery now, not major back surgery.
I don't think any back surgery.
I've never tried. Yeah.
Hold up 1 second. I want to get to I want to get to Kelly. So Kelly's a local in Wrexham, so I'm going to give her time. David Carr. I was actually okay, Chris. The loyalty's getting bored of Rob Ryan getting bored with their toy. That got me. So I just want to put that out there. It's all good. But
so the fans being bored statement was purely on the back of the tickets being turned down. And that goes back to it. That's where that statement came from. And the Rob and Ryan, I don't want to say it again, but we've had that experience with Posh and Darren McAntony. He was very close to obviously getting rid of the club, and he is from Ireland but has lived in America for pretty much all of his life. And he got bored, probably, and got a little bit sick of it after sort of probably 12, 13, 14 years and looked to try and offload it. It turned out that actually, look, this is not me putting words into Dara's mouth because this may not be the truth, but we brought in 2 Canadians who he was probably looking to move in, like take 50% of the club type thing. And then like over the long term, we would then move from Dara into the 2 new owners. It didn't happen because he sort of realized that actually he didn't want to step away. But at some point, like, I'm not sure how far their finances will carry, if that makes sense. And then they're then going to need additional investment from somewhere if they want to continue the story.
I know they definitely need more investment. They need more investment.
Yeah, which is not getting bored. But if they can't find that investment and then it does start to go wrong, like there's only so many times that you can replace Jack Marriott and Ollie Palmer, a Paul Mullin. And look, Wrexham are probably flying high off of vibes right now. Like the trend is still there, but like we've said, at some point it's going to plateau, and it may fall off. Sure. If an owner got you back to back, so Andy at 10:53. Posh did get back to back promotions when Darren McAntony came in first. And that's the important thing. Like all of these things that I'm being thrown at me, we've experienced ourselves. We went from League 2 to League 1 into the Championship and ended up getting relegated from the Championship, then went straight back up again, and then held a season in the Championship and then got relegated in the second season with a record high points for a team that got relegated. And if we'd have not conceded the goal at Crystal Palace, then we probably would have still been a Championship team and solidified ourselves as a Championship team. I think that so like this is like my comments aren't sort of like blind comments. Like we've got experience of back-to-back promotions, we've got experience of flying the high life and then coming crashing down massively and then spending 7 years in League One, like, and feeling stuck. And then obviously we got promoted during COVID because who's Ivan? Am I missing Ivan?
Oh, don't worry about it. Get going. He's one of the guys that's going to
Sorry, I'm just putting up as we go.
No context. What's interesting though, right there in where you're going, is you're speaking from experience of your club, which is good because that's and because that skews what we hear because we don't know your experience. What you've done in your history with your club has an impact on how you think, and the same for us, and how we think about this club and what it's been doing and where it's going, and and we go on what. So, I mean, I know the club is spending significant money, and Rob and Ryan are literally not afraid to future invest in the club and the people and the infrastructure they put in place. What I like is that they haven't come in and just tried to buy. Basically done a Birmingham in the transfer window and just gone and spent millions.
But then you could argue that maybe they have done that back in the National League.
Yeah, but my point is Birmingham's just gone and bought players. Back in the National League, yes, but as a whole, like they're trying to do an academy. They're looking at stadium redevelopment. They're doing all the infrastructure things, not only on the pitch, but off the pitch. So that shows to me a level of commitment over a very long period of time. So that's what I like and what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and Posh are 20 years into Darren McAntony's ownership now, we've sort of made it. Yeah, I think it's 20. I'm sure it was like 2004 that he bought the club. That might be wrong, but I'm sure that it's close to 20 now. Let me Google.
Look, I think I guess. Well, Josh, you Google it and I'll help him out.
It's 2006. 2006. Yeah. So not quite at 20 years yet, but close enough.
And then, like we're all saying, with 4 games into the season, it's very early on. The ebbs and flows of the league will start to balance out. Now, I look at it, get to Christmas, see where you are at Christmas, reassess. You'll have a much better idea of the standard of teams and where they're going to finish by then. And then the push comes after Christmas. And if Peterborough on that upward trend in the back end, like you said earlier on in the show, then that will augur well for you guys. And then same for us. Like we started last season so poorly, and now this season we've started well against what I think were some really good quality teams like yourself and Bolton.
Yeah, of course. So I said I don't think that Bolton are as strong as they have been previously. I think that they have sort of struggled with the last 2 seasons and not really replaced. Like Ricardo Santos is an absolute donut at the back. Like I know that he's won League One Players of the Year, but if you run at him,
huge.
Yeah, if you run at him, and similar to what was so frustrating about not getting at the Wrexham defenders, if you run at these guys, they don't like it. No defender, even Premier League defenders, they don't like being run at by fast footballers. And it's such a boring tactic in theory, but if you do it, you win games.
It's a high threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the important thing that DMP Sounds has said it at 10:56 is that ultimately this is a toy. Like whether people want to look at it that way or not, this is no different to me going to the toy shop with my 4-year-old daughter and saying, look, here's £100, go and buy whatever you want type thing. Like that's what it is to these people that have lots of money. Like it doesn't have to be like a negative thing. But it is a toy. It's a way for them to spend their money and have a laugh and have some interactions. And obviously, you guys have had some fantastic nights over the last 2 years. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm push back on that. So I think the difference is, I'm going to say this. This is just knowing my wife works with Ryan in certain things, and I know Rob through certain things. I think the difference is, I don't disagree with you about people buying clubs for toys. Spend their money. I think they both spent like $1 million on each side, so $2 million to buy the club. All right, let's take that on. All right, and this is not me being combative. So I think what they've done is they bought the club. Right, is obviously in disarray in certain ways. They've invested in the town, and granted, I'll give you about the show. Welcome to Wrexham has exasperated that in a good way. But I think that they're trying to reevaluate things. If you watch Welcome to Wrexham, it's not just about the club; it's about the town, it's about the people. So that's the pushback I would put on there too. On surface, on the outside, I will say you're like, oh, F that Hollywood FC, which I absolutely hate it. Every article is like Robin Wright and Hollywood FC XYZ. I work in.
No, I think that's disrespectful, and I don't think that I've ever said Hollywood FC.
No, not you. I'm not saying you.
I also hope that I wouldn't, because like at one point Posh would have been like Property Investment FC type thing. Like it's not. It's somebody's football team, and even if I'm not saying it for the guys that have only been supporting the team for a couple of years, I would never insult those long-term football fans who have supported the club for 50, 60, 70 years. And hopefully all of these 2, 3, 4 year fans that Wrexham have got become 40, 50, 60 year fans.
My pushback is I don't think that's what the plan is for the club. Rob McElhenney comes from Philadelphia. He has a passionate background of like growing up in supporting Philadelphia Eagles. I think that what they've shown, this is my personal opinion, what they've shown is like they want to invest in the town, and the club is a part of it as well. So we've had people on here that photographers that have been they kind of put onto the show. I think that's the difference. But you're right, it can be on the outside look as a toy, and it could plateau and things can go tits up really fast. I will push back, and representative of Wrexham. It's like, I don't think that's it, but I can see how it could be perceived that way.
Being a toy doesn't have to be a negative thing.
True that. Fair enough.
And that's the point.
One thing, because I've got to go. I've got to rush. I've got to get to work. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to let you guys continue on. Fantastic chat. Definitely we'll get you back when we're playing you guys at home, which will be great. We should do a pre and a post. It'll be really good. I love it. I love the conversation. To everybody out there that's watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of the chat with these two not as good looking men. And as we do on that bombshell.
On that bombshell, he's out. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. How much time? I didn't ask how much time you have. We've been on an hour. I want to make sure do a couple more minutes if you want.
When the time's right, and if you want to get rid of me, then just like drop me a message and say like, can you clear off now? Like,
no, we're good. It's 3 o'clock at my end. We'll hang out and see as it goes. But no, but I get your thing on the toy. But that was my only defense of that too. But
the toy doesn't have, and that's the thing that needed reiterating. That when I said it on our original podcast, I didn't feel like I needed to back it up, because ultimately, like, we didn't know that there was like 5, 6, 7 Wrexham podcast channels and fan interaction channels that were all going to watch it, because we've only been doing it for Up the Poshcast for sort of 8 episodes. We've not had that interaction. We've not had people come and find our stuff, nor was it said so that we like, okay, well, what do we need? We need a trailer. Like, what can we say that's an easy one? Like what I said to you, Josh, before we started, like, we didn't post anything to do with that. It was the Fearless pod that posted it. Like, we made a trailer for it, but we didn't include anything that I'd said, I don't think, like that ended up going viral as such. And if I'd have felt that it needed explaining at the time, I would have explained it. But ultimately, like, not to repeat myself again, but being a toy doesn't have to be a bad thing. And somebody popped up in the comments, said, oh, it doesn't have to be a toy, it could be a charity. Like, no football club wants to be a charity, like, type of thing. Like, that's not what it is. I'd rather be called a toy than a charity, like, because you don't need their sympathy. Like, yes, cool, they've got massively involved in the local community, but like, don't get me wrong, I've never been to Wrexham. Really looking forward to coming in January. I hope it's cold. I hope it's raining, because that's what football is to me. Like, playing football in the summer.
Yeah,
playing football in the summer. I don't really like it. I like cold. I like the rain. I like all of that stuff. So I hope it's a really terrible experience, like coming to Wrexham, but the football on the pitch shines through. Like, and like that. Not to go back to this one again, but it chucked it down all day. The picture behind me, the derby away on New Year's Day, chucked it down all day. We walked back from the car having just won 3-2 and got absolutely soaked. But did I care one bit? Not at all. Because we just won the game, and that was all that mattered to me. Like, I could have stood out in the rain for 3 hours, and like, and that's the great thing. Like, I discussed recently with some of my mates, it was like, you have 23 home games, 23 away games. If you could guarantee me that we would win every away game, I would take losing every home game. No doubt about it. What are Peterborough Sports like? They playing our main rivals?
We got another one coming in. Hold on, Patty. One of the other regulars coming in. How you doing? Welcome. Patty's been in. Patty's got a new shirt on. Holy dears! Yep.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Patty's in. Patty's one of the regulars on the show. Yep. Yeah.
Been listening the whole time.
Yeah.
Listening in the wings.
Yeah. It's been a good show. Been a good chat. This is great. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Keep the chat going. Go on. Ignore me.
Oh. Ignore you.
Just jump in and just pretend you're not there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here, but I'm not here.
Keep the flow going.
What are Peterborough Sports like playing in the main rivals? Playing our main rivals, Chester. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I don't have that one. I don't have the
so Peterborough Sports are a local football club. I think it's the National League North that they're in, which is obviously then the same division as Chester. And Chester is like on Wrexham's doorstep, isn't it? I think that it's even closer than Shrewsbury is, isn't it? So that was kind of quite comical, actually. I don't know whether you guys noticed when the fixtures were released. There was the two Peterboroughs. Yeah, but they were both playing. It was meant to be Peterborough Sports versus Chester this weekend, at the same time as Peterborough Posh versus Wrexham. So that would have just been absolute carnage. There's no bad blood between the two Peterborough teams, but there's obviously a lot more history between Chester and Wrexham, I would imagine. With them being sort of not the same city, but Peterborough Sports are sort of like a low team that are working their way through the divisions, and hopefully ultimately, like that's another thing. Like, people that say they don't want to play their rivals, like going back to the Cambridge and Northampton, like, who's going to get relegated this season? I'd only want those two teams to get relegated if Posh get promoted, because then I know that if Posh are promoted, there's no way that we're going to play them next season. If we don't get promoted, I don't want Cambridge or Northampton to go down, because they're the first games that you look for every single season.
Mary said, sorry, and I'll pass to Patty after this. Ashley says, what are your thoughts on our manager, Phil Parkinson? Do you think he could pass the championship level?
No, is the answer. No, like I can't really expand on it more than that. But the way that teams play football now, like, you look at when teams are getting rid of their managers in the Championship now, they're bringing in young coaches from the Premier League and making them into managers. You look at like Michael Carrick, for example. I can't remember the guy that's at Ipswich at the moment. His name's avoiding me. Obviously, Maresca, who's now at Chelsea, who was at Leicester last season.
The guy at Brighton, he's 31 years old, coming from the German second division. He's 31 years old. The Birmingham manager's a young manager. That's the way that they're going. And yes, the football that Phil Parkinson plays is effective, but at some point it becomes ineffective. And I don't want to go back to the whole possession thing. And if you can't have the ball, but 70% in League One becomes 90% in the Championship if Wrexham are going to play the way that Phil Parkinson does. It's Kieran McKenna. Adam. It's Kieran McKenna. He's just given me the nudge that I needed. For the Ipswich manager. Come from United.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think, like, Darren Ferguson's always really struggled in the Championship. Now, there's lots of claims that that's because he's not really been supported correctly at Posh. but he's then been at Preston, and I think that's it. But been at Doncaster and not really done it with Preston, which was obviously a disappointing thing.
Mhm.
I think that
Yeah.
Peak on PC's got me mistaken with Charlie because I didn't predict the 5-1.
You did not. I have it here. I have it here. And then I'll pass the shelf with questions.
I predicted that Posh were going to win 4-0 and that Wrexham weren't going to get a sniff of the goal. So how very wrong I was.
Oh, I have it here. Confident we're going to introduce them to League One. Coming to their neutral ground, neutral possession. And it says blah, 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 blah. No, the best one was though, Charlie. Wrexham are going to seriously struggle 5-1. The Spanish flags was the greatest thing. I love it too. Yeah. But Harry was 1-1, which is great. But Patty coming in, what do you got? It's been a great chat, and thanks for coming in. Obviously, again, Ashley, it's been fantastic, and we will come to yours, and we'll take it on the big end every time on our end too, for sure.
Yeah, I have had my issues with Phil over the last season and a half, I suppose, as well. And I have had my moments saying that, yeah, he won't be good enough for us and he will need to be replaced at some point. But I'm slowly changing my mind a little bit on it because we are now getting stronger players who actually know how to play the system Parkinson is looking for. And I do think people are completely underrating how it can lead to other teams not knowing how to play against you. Because if you say, which is true, everybody is moving to the more modern style, then they're all worried about that style. They're all defending for that style. And then when you come up against the one or two teams who are playing something very different, they can't spend months trying to understand it and work it out. That's what they've been doing for everybody else. So it can become the banana skin for every other team if we do it correctly. And of course, if we get caught in fast play and quick passes up and down the pitch, and if you can control your possession and get quick up at us, it can go wrong for us. So it's just styles. The issue I have lately with teams that are playing this is a lot of the teams in League One especially can't do it, or at least can't do it well. So everybody is trying to use this new system, and we are starting to really take apart the teams that are doing it okay, but are not amazing at it. And I think that's where we were last season with our style of play, is we could do it well, but we weren't at the top of the game. And so far, it seems this season, we are getting where Parky wanted us to be the whole time. So I'll be interested to see exactly where we finish at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's the point. Is it like it's all well and good. Like I said when we recorded Saturday, we've played 4 league games. I'm not going to get dejected over 4 league games. 6 points after 4 games is good for me. Like a 2 point a game average will see you to success this season.
Yeah.
But it's a 46 game season, and you can't say, oh well, we've played this team and this team and we've played the better. Like lots of the things that obviously Wrexham fans are saying is we've played Bolton, we've played Peterborough, but you've not played like somebody like Wycombe, let's say.
No, we opened up on Wycombe.
We opened up.
Yeah, no, that was just But or like even like what like we're saying about Leyton Orient or like Shrewsbury, for example. Like I know that you don't want to say it, but yeah, like they're shocking. But you lose to teams like that. Like Posh played Carlisle obviously twice last season. We took 1 point off of them. They got relegated with such a low amount of points, but they beat us at home and we drew away. They got 4 points off of us, and that's a team that got relegated. Like it's all well and good saying we've played the good teams, but you'll probably then drop points against the poor teams. And until you look back at it, and like this is the one big thing when you get towards the end of the season that I would always say I'm quite better at people. Is like people say like when they look at your last 5 games and they go, oh well, if we'd have won here or won there or picked up an extra point where we lost like 1-0 or not conceded that goal, we would have got this. But you have to look at it across the season again. Like we look back to when we conceded 2-3 goals very quickly against Portsmouth last season. Like we shouldn't have done that. We went 1-0 up at Portsmouth. Like we should have got another 2-3 goals. We didn't. We then conceded very quickly because of a defensive mistake. And I think that that's the thing that football fans probably need to learn better, is not to look at the last 3-4 results when it comes to the end of the season. It's to look at the whole season and go, right, actually, we did not get promoted because of the last game of the season. We over the course of the season, we didn't pick up enough points. As simple as that.
Yeah, correct. But
sorry, Shell, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, you have to look over the whole season. But when you do come up from the league below and you have no record with the teams around you, you have to look at the strength of the teams that you are playing and relative to what you expect from them. And so far, the start of our season would be considered to be a tough start. So I wasn't expecting us to have such a strong start. Now, our next one is supposed to be our easy match. Then we have Birmingham away, which would be the hardest of the season. And then after that, our next 6 would be relatively on the easier side. So as you say, you can banana peel on those. So, but you can only look at what's in front of you. And so far, everything is looking very positive. If we come through our week 6 teams and don't beat them, okay, well, then we're having some issues. And in the past, Wrexham have had issues playing down to weaker teams. We always seem to be up for the cup match standard when you have someone that's bigger than you and stronger than you. But then we have played down and had poor looking football sometimes against really weak teams. But that stopped towards the second half of last season. We really got our team together. So we can only look at what's positive there so far. And we compare ourselves to Stockport. They're obviously a benchmark for us. And so far, I would dictate that they've had weaker opponents. But time will tell. It is way too early. It's the standard 10-match, 12-match. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, 15 games, and then you sort of you know who's going to be there or thereabouts. Coming 3 years ago, and long-term impacts to culture will be really felt once our academy is further. But the problem is, David, is that academy players don't want to play the football that Parkinson plays. Like that, they're all so good technically that it would probably feel like it would be wasted. Like Posh have been through that phase where they basically signed, like one of my mates was in the Posh Academy when he was sort of 12, 13. And then this big Bulgarian lad came in who was bigger than him, and they basically binned him off because he was bigger. And that's sort of not the way that academies work these days. And it may be different at Wrexham, but in the nicest way possible, are all of the people that are going to be playing for Wrexham's academy watching Wrexham, or are they watching Man United on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon? Who do they idolize? Because that's where it comes from.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like who are they watching and who do they want to play? Like I coach an under-14s team, and if I said to them, right, we're going to go and get 3 or 4 big lads and we're just going to kick the ball long every game, that's not want to play for me. Like they like to play football, they like to pass the ball around. Whether we do that very well or not is obviously a completely different question. But if I said to them, right, aim of the game is just going to be kick the ball long, get after it type thing. I did see that comment come up from the football player order. I think that feels a little bit under-researched when we look back at the last 2 seasons and look at our average age over the last 2 seasons, because we have obviously got the playoffs the last 2 seasons, and that's what Posh do. Posh, we've definitely gone younger over the last 2-3 seasons, but we've always been young. We've never really bought into the whole we're going to go and buy experienced players model. The most experience that we had was way back in sort of 2008, 2009, when we had like Craig Morgan and Dean Keats, a few of those players that have obviously played for Wrexham as well. And I think that comment feels a little bit wrong. Like
which one?
I'm relatively confident that Posh will be top 6 by the end of the season. Yeah.
This one?
It just
no. The last one about the age.
Yeah, no. The one
it is a little bit harsh because you can have some amazing players at that point. You know.
This one? Sorry.
Yeah. That one.
I feel that's slightly harsh as well, just because of the age that you're only going to get mid-table.
Yeah. Sorry, this one's my internet's slow here. Ashley, Ashley, what are the difficult teams in League One? Do you think? We kind of touched on it a little bit, but there's something to get there.
I don't think that that's fair for any football fan to sort of say, because who Posh find difficult is not who Wrexham will find difficult. Like difficult. Like I said to you, like we took 1 point off the team that got relegated last season and the bottom of the league. How can I say, oh yeah, they're a really easy team to play when we've only got 1 point off of them? Like any team that you can take 6 points off of, and again, this is that's a very much a hindsight comment. Like, who do I think will be difficult? Will be Huddersfield, Rotherham, Wrexham, Stockport, Bolton, Birmingham. I like, you could sort of say anybody in the top 12 that's going to finish in the top 12 should be the difficult teams.
What do you make of Lincoln City, by the way? So they seem to be having a pretty good start to the season. They weren't on my bingo card, but do you have something that you know? And Reading, I'm going to put Reading in there too. Having, I think they have a good. What do you make of those two teams?
Was that Lincoln and Reading?
Yeah, Lincoln and Reading. Yeah.
So Lincoln finished really strongly last season, and they were sort of going for that 6th place with Oxford in the playoffs. And then they lost their right back, who's gone to Huddersfield, Sorensen, I think it is. They lost Joe Taylor, who was only on loan from Luton. I've not really looked at them. I know that we've got them in a couple of weeks' time, so that'll be something that I'll have a look at and watch a couple of their games and just sort of work out where they are. But they've got a good manager, and a lot of the time, especially in League One and the Championship, I think that's what it comes down to. You don't have those £1 million, 50, 60, 70k a week players. And Kim's right. Like we look like kids. Going back all the way to the comment way back at the start. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, why are we afraid to get hurt? Like, more often than not, if you're afraid to get hurt, you're probably going to get hurt more than if you just went into it full blooded and put the tackle in. And it sort of set the standard for the game when, okay, the first 30 minutes went the way that we wanted them to, and then Wrexham scored, and then obviously the head went down. So I think that's maybe a little bit harsh that we were shocking in the aerial duels, because I actually thought that we did what we needed to do with the pressure that Wrexham provided. Obviously, the corner that they scored from, that was a mismatch at the back post.
But yeah, the Max thing, they both were holding each other. I'm like, oh, that's just fair football. Like, go on, I don't know who was on him, but Max is 22. That's just, he didn't bully him. Yeah, he happened to be there. He put it in the back of the net. And Max is pretty good at that, to be honest with you. Clearworth.
Yeah. That was a mismatch, and that's all that was. Like, to say that Posh was shocking in the aerial duels, I think is a little bit tough, because we won our fair share of headers throughout the game.
You got Shell. You got something, Shell?
Just having a look through the comments there. No, I suppose, like you're saying, it's unfair of some of the commenters to say that, oh, that was shocking. Yeah, fair enough.
It's their opinion, isn't it?
It is each their own. It's their opinion. I would kind of point out that there's not much that you're giving us on our team that is that we played well, in particular in that last match.
I praised Dobson and Elliot Lee in the middle, didn't I? And ultimately. And ultimately, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I think that Wrexham were very good or not, because they won the game, didn't they? I made comment when somebody asked me for my honest opinion. I couldn't watch that every week. That's not the type of football that I like to watch. So if I'm struggling to be complimentary, that's because that's my personal, like, footballing sort of profile, and it's not something that I would find entertaining. It works. Don't get me wrong. Like I said to you, like, teams like Wrexham will do a similar sort of thing. We'll play those big formations, but it's effective. I can't say anything more than it is effective. Like it's a congratulations, you've got the 3 points. But I couldn't do that week in, week out.
Considering then it's a supporter's mentality, and you go support your team. What happens if a manager comes into Peterborough that completely changes the style of the team and you just don't like it anymore?
The fans,
you know what I mean? It seems like
I get that, but that Posh wouldn't recruit that way. We brought in Steve Evans, and he played the way he did, and lots of people stopped coming to watch Posh. I would never not watch Posh. Through one reason or another, but just because Posh are winning doesn't mean I have to enjoy it, type thing. Like, you would still go to support your team, but it doesn't mean that you have to enjoy it, even if they were to bring in a manager. But I think that where we're at now is that we've got an owner that wants a specific thing. We've got a manager that wants a specific thing. If the manager decides to move away or gets a better job offer, we would look to replace somebody that's going to play a similar way of football, because that's what works with our academy through the setup. They all play the same way. It doesn't always work. The problem is for our academy is that our under 18s and under 19s are in the first team, so our under 14s are basically playing under 18s, and it looks like we get beaten every week, because you've got under 18 teams that are playing our basically under 16, 17s, and they're just bigger and stronger type thing. So similar to sort of the weekend, but it's obviously it's much more exponential in the youth football.
Good question there. It looks like Peter, our young team. Who are the leaders of the squad? And by the way, Ivan's going to come in for 2 minutes, but I do want to be respectful for Ashley's time. We have been on for about 80 minutes. So, but yeah, we'll get a couple more in, and then we'll get them on and moving on. But Hip Karma says, fair play to Ashley for coming on and chat with us. I'm happy with how Wrexham are progressing at this stage of the season. No, Ash is great. Again, the reason why I wanted to do this is because that's football. Football happens, but it's like conversation is fun. It's great. We all love football, and that's the whole thing. I'm going to bring in Ivan real quick. Have a quick say. There we go. Ivan, Shell, Ivan, welcome.
Hey, fellas. How are you?
Good, how are you? Actually doing yeoman's work tonight, taking it and talking it and doing his thing. It's awesome. So I'm stoked.
I apologize. I couldn't join. As you can hear, I'm at work right now. We had a bunch of floods happening around here, raining for like a week straight. So trying to fix people's stuff. But I just wanted to say that Ashley sounds like a very sensible and a football-wise person. And a lot of the things that you are saying, I pretty much agree with you 100%. I think we need to maybe exchange numbers and talk a little bit more, because our points of views, they coincide on a lot of factors. And you guys, just wanted to say real quick that this style that you guys played for the first 15 minutes under your manager, I was amazed. I was impressed. And you just lacked a little bit in that final third. But the way you guys are playing is my type of football, especially for the first 15 minutes. Keep doing that. It takes time. That kind of style of football is hard. That's why a lot of the coaches don't choose to do that, because it's the most difficult style of football to master. It takes effort. It takes certain players. It takes time as well. So, but you guys are, if you're gonna continue, especially under that manager, I think you have good future. And the vibe that I had about the game is that we were playing a youth team of the Premier League club. You have fast, smart, skilled, technical young players. I would not be surprised if they get picked up by bigger clubs in Championship in the next couple of years. So it will be a struggle for you to hold on to them. But what you guys are doing is good. And looking forward to seeing you at Stoke Kairas. And thank you so much. You're talking good sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. That's great. Honestly, from 0600 this morning, people on the phone flooding. We need to go and do stuff. So yeah.
All right. On that bombshell, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
On that bombshell. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. That's our sign off, by the way. And when you go off, you got to sign off at the same thing. I'm just telling you that's how it's
okay.
Go.
You might have to put that in can you put that in the private chat for me so that I don't forget? So can we go back to Mulberry Red's comment about the leaders? Because 11:23.
There you go, brother.
Yep. The answer is we don't have any at the moment. And we struggled with a similar thing last season. Is that we had a captain, Mason Clark. He took the captain's armband. He wasn't very good with the captain's armband. We then brought in a lone player, Peter Chioso. He then was our captain for the season. We then lost him on January the 1st after the Derby game because I think it was Rotherham took him back because he'd had such a good loan spell with Posh. And leaders is definitely something that we have struggled with, but I think that the leaders grow throughout the season. And that will be something as we come towards the end of the season that we'll start to see, right? Okay, well, maybe our captain isn't our leader. I do think that Hector Cipriano will be our leader by the end of the season. But again, whether we'll hold on to him past January is a different question. Like Ivan says, is there's always people sniffing around Peterborough players.
Why is that? Why is that? So just because of the name of the club, or because you recruit well, or the academy? Why is that?
All of the above. We have this fantastic track record of finding people in the non-league, finding people in like academies that have been released from academies of the higher levels that have been told, right, you're not that good type thing. If you go back and look at Jack Marriott's goal scoring records, I don't know if you can pull that up quickly onto the screen before.
Got it. Right. Go on.
If you pull that up and you look at it, he wasn't really a goal scorer, and he came to Posh, and then started scoring goals. And that's what Posh have a good track record of doing, is taking these strikers that people say, well, they can't hit a barn door, and turning them into multi-million-pound players. Ivan Toney, again, another example, went to Northampton, was playing at Scunthorpe, picked up by Newcastle, didn't really do it at Newcastle, came to Posh, and then all of a sudden he scored like 30 goals in a season. Clark Harris, the same again. And it's just a repeat, like consistently doing. So can you do the Wikipedia, because that shows it sometimes a little bit better. Yep. If you do Jack Marriott's Wikipedia.
So there you go. Sheldon's no more the stats guy. Hold on. There we go. All right, there you go. That work?
Yeah. So there you go. You see that he's done relatively well. He's done lots of loans, so never really convinced at sort of Ipswich. Gone to Luton, 22 goals in 79 games isn't really fantastic. You're sort of talking 1 goal every 4 games, and then he comes to Posh and he scores a goal every 2 games.
1 and 2,
yeah. It works. Posh then sell him to Derby for lots of money, and then it doesn't work for him, and and it's really tough. And then he then does come back to Posh, and a lot of things when you look at the appearances, you have to take them with a pinch of salt, because a lot of those appearances in that 2021 to 2023 season were substitute appearances, so he's not getting 90 minutes of football.
Minutes is not enough sometimes.
And last year, he was not. Yeah, he was like, he's so much better than this, but you can't get on the pitch and like pretend to score. You just can't do it, So fair play.
Like even at Wrexham, I didn't realize that he'd only scored 2 goals. I don't know whether that's obviously updated after the weekend, but it probably is right.
2 this season,
Yeah, this season. Yeah. He scored 1 last season. But he
scored 1 last season only.
Yeah, 15 minutes a game. If he's coming on for nothing, obviously, Parkinson like subs a little late. I think he's changing things up now, but like he would come on for 10 minutes and be like, oh well, what's he going to do now? You know what I mean? So you can't make an impact. You can't make an impact on a game in 10 minutes unless you sort of come on and your first touch is putting the ball in the back of the net. You may have an impact on 1 10 minute spell, but you're not going to have it every 10 minutes, are you? Type thing. Yeah, for sure. It says so Posh, nothing obvious against you, but what was my feeling? I track 685 players that are listed in League One, so obviously which are 340. So he does a lot of football stats. I'm not sure where that.
Yeah, so that was the comment we were speaking about earlier, where he said that your team will only be mid-table because they're all young, basically, and under 25. And we were saying it was a little bit harsh, but
definitely harsh.
Going based on stats. I can see exactly where he pulled it from, and this is where sometimes you have to be careful with stats as well. I think it's a little bit harsh, his opinion, but if you're just looking at stats, it probably says that.
It's just a money ball. It's a money ball and getting on the pitch and going out and playing. Again, like you said, they give me somebody. I think it was a Charlie. Give us the ball, we'll score a goal. In this particular, it didn't happen. You got to go play the match. That's football. That's why that's
absolutely. The comments just in Britt Sombolonga was another one. I think we paid £1 million for him from Watford. People were like, why have we just spent £1 million on this player that's like barely ever scored a goal as a striker? Dwight Gale, we picked him up for Dagenham and Redbridge, and then 6 months later we've sold him again because he's just scored bags full of goals. It's so difficult to say with Posh whether you think you've got a gem or a lump of coal type thing. Because don't get me wrong, for every fantastic Ivan Toney, Brett Somalonga, Dwight Gale, Jack Marriott, there's some absolute horror shows in like Lee Angol, Emile Sinclair. I wouldn't even waste your time looking up those names because they are trash. We signed a lad from Ireland or Northern Ireland, Joe Gormley. I think he scored 1 goal in like 50 appearances, but he'd scored in the Irish League and scored thousands of goals, but just replicate it. So like it's not a case of like 100% success rate. It's probably closer to the 30 to 40. But when we do get it right, we get it right, and it feels like we're certainly getting it right more than we're getting it wrong now.
Well, I immediately heard coming into this league that your team had very good recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you are buying in players, selling them off. But what my follow-on question would be is, what are you doing with that money? Because it doesn't necessarily appear like you're saving it and then buying in much higher quality in a couple of positions to get you up out of the league. So where's the money gone if you've been gaining the incomes from it?
That's a great question. Depending on who you ask.
I'll let me look into it. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah,
do you know, like this is one of those things. Like if you don't look, you don't need to worry, type thing. And I like to watch football. If Harry was not tucked up in bed, he would have probably come on and started speaking because he's an accountant and he likes to make lots of rounding errors type things. And he reads Posh's books and looks at where the money's going and what it's doing. Like Posh have lots of debt. It was near the 20 million mark. I think it's down to 8. So if you wanted a basic answer of where the money is, it's clearing that debt down. The investment that we had from the 2 Canadians a couple of years back, that went a little bit sour. So lots of that money had to go back to them because they needed to be bought out of their sort of stake in the club. But the cynical Posh fans will say that Darrow's pocketing it, but I can't get behind that statement in the slightest.
Well, look, this is what a lot of people forget. Is you mentioned earlier about buying clubs to be toys. Well, you should be buying clubs to be a business, and businesses need to, in theory, make money. And everybody in the higher end seems to have forgotten that. And people take their money in different fashions. So if he's earning money by doing this and he's comfortable to sit in League One forever and make whatever money he's making and putting it in his pocket, there's nothing theoretically wrong with that as an owner. You know, I wouldn't necessarily give him a hard time over it. It just means you have an owner that has no interest in investing that money to get better players and go up to earn more money.
Which is where I really knowing what and seeing what I've seen from Darragh McAntony over the last 18 years, which we've confirmed, is that I just can't see how anybody can say with chest that he's pocketing money. Like I can't get behind it.
That's fine. I'm not suggesting
it's an experiment. Like maybe he doesn't have the finances when Posh get promoted in the Championship, like Kim says, to solidify, and it always does feel like that. Like we do need to then invest a little bit more. Like whether he doesn't have the finances for that, I don't know. But for people to say, well, Neil, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I absolutely spanked them because. Like people talking about what a big day out is. Everybody's big day out this year is at Birmingham. And there is nothing more than I would love for every single team that goes to Birmingham this season.
Get a draw.
To go, no, just beat them. Just go there and shut them up. Like they've scored so many late goals this season, and I think it'll be a familiar story that they will score lots of late goals. And fair play to them. Like you win the game, you win the game. But there's nothing that I would love more. Than every team that goes to Birmingham to go and beat Birmingham, just to sort of say, well, look, this is League One. You can't spend all the money you want and just piss the league. It's a lot harder than that, and then they get stuck down here for a couple of seasons. But the realism in me says that there's no chance that happens. They will walk the league. Yeah.
Aaron's in the house. How you doing, Aaron? Good to see you. And Matt out said, I did ask earlier, where's the money going? You never know. I hope it's not going to my pocket. I'll tell you that much, for God's sakes. The feeder stuff. Exactly, George. Pre-retirement veterans, or they. Okay, I'm not sure what that means, but okay. And Aaron is one of the regular contributors. Aaron's our guy who had basically put all the players up for Rotherham. They signed them all. So
that we're talking about earlier.
Yeah. Ashley and I were the Twins. I haven't said the same thing about teams beating Birmingham. There you go. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of time. Listen, we do a show we do a That's a Wrap show on Monday nights, 5 p.m. I don't know. That might be too late for you. Love to have you come be a part of it if you want. We go through the whole league, but you want to put it out there to you. But I'm so glad we had you on. Like I said, it's been fantastic. And, I wish you guys the best of luck just right below us. How's that?
Fit well. First and second, then. How about that?
Let's do it. First and second. Yeah. We really appreciate
it. And that last comment, by the end of
Which
this,
one?
will you say you're a Wrexham fan in the slightest? No.
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 Which one? Yeah. I mean, I don't. We have Aaron, who's a Newport fan, who's like secretly a Wrexham fan for sure. But
yeah.
Let me know. I'd love to come on your show as well. If we get rinsed in January, I'll be there in 2 seconds. But I'm so glad we did this and got to chat a little bit too. It's a really great talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank everyone in the chat. You've all been great. Chicky Brewer, we love you. We're so good to have people on and have different perspectives there too. So Shell, any last words?
Nope. I was reading the comments.
Ash, drop. Tell us about Up the POSHCAST. There you go. Tell us what's going on with you guys. When we can see you. How do we subscribe and what do we do?
Yeah, so Up the POSHCAST on Twitter, X, Instagram. Not quite finished the Facebook page yet, but we're on YouTube as well. We released an episode at 6 o'clock, so 6 hours ago now. So that's on there if anybody wants to go and have a watch. We weren't the most complimentary of our performance on Saturday. But like that's the thing is that I know that obviously Josh, we discussed about not getting too high and not getting too low, but sometimes you need to get high and low and just enjoy the ride along the way. Because being too level-headed is boring, isn't it? And like I'd like to quantify that I said what I said when we recorded last week, not to clickbait all of the Wrexham fans. I didn't realize that there was going to be so many of them attacking me, but it is what it is. I will definitely be saying something to wind you all up again come like January the 3rd. Maybe I won't say it on the podcast and I'll just say it on my Twitter instead so that you can all come and attack me that way.
We'll do it together. I'll come on yours, you come on mine. That's fair enough. Yeah,
it sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming in. Go follow Up the POSHCAST. Ash, we're really grateful to have you on, and thank you all very much. And on that bombshell, we will see you all later.
Thank you, everyone.